Good afternoon and welcome to this UniTaste Tuesday event. This is an event where we introduce studying certain subjects at university, and my name is Jon Cheek. I'm here from UniTasterDays and I'm going to be hosting the event today. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Patrick Oxenham, who is a subject lead in performance analysis at St Mary's University, Twickenham. Patrick is going to introduce university courses in sports performance analysis. Always conscious with these events, you've tuned in to hear from our excellent speakers, not from myself. So with that, I'll pass the floor please to Patrick Oxenham, subject lead in performance analysis at St Mary's University, with an introduction to university courses in sport performance analysis. Over to you.
Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure to be able to present at the UniTasterDays event. The presentation will essentially open up the field of performance analysis at university and almost give you a little bit of an insight to what you will study at university and almost what to expect from a program. And again, more importantly, how I can assist you in terms of your applications to university when studying this field. As John alluded to at the start there, so my name is Patrick Oxenham. I'm the subject lead for performance analysis at St Mary's University. And essentially, many moons ago now, I was probably sat where you are as prospective students, looking at what subject I was going to study at university. And I think it's a really important decision to make. And ultimately, the aim of this presentation is to give you as much information as possible, just so that you can make a better decision in terms of what university you would like to study at. And more importantly, when choosing performance analysis, what you expect. Now, in terms of what performance analysis actually is, quite simply put, it's the investigation of actual sports performance. In terms of what you will look at university, it's a little bit more complex than that. So if we almost think from a sporting context, we very much go through a similar cycle, no matter what sport we're participating in that we perform, we then train, and then we might perform again, and we do that across a period of time. Now, the role that performance analysis plays within this cycle is that we want to almost ask ourselves as athletes, how do I become better? What does it take to be successful within my given sport? And how do I become the best within my given sport? And that is essentially where we, as performance analysts, can actually step in and provide really useful information to ensure that our athletes are on that developmental pathway. Now, if we think about coaching as a discipline and coaching to actually support our athletes in their development, we have to appreciate the limitations that come with observing sports performance and almost start to identify now, with the advancements in technology, how we can actually delve into the minute details to ensure that our athletes are developing and within certain contexts are being really, really successful within their performance. So in terms of performance analysis as a field, we can almost delve into these concepts here. And this is what you would expect to study and gain knowledge and understanding when you join a university program within this area. Many different concepts that we can look at, but if we look at things in more specific detail, we can look at physical analysis, so almost physical parameters that are prevalent and pertinent within particular sporting context. So for example, within team sports, we might look at the use of GPS to actually track physical data within our athletes. So we can actually start to inform training programs. We can start to ensure that our athletes are performing at the highest level without getting injured. We might also look at more technical components where we actually start to identify how we can develop our athletes from a technical perspective. Now, this might be the effectiveness of certain running techniques. It might be the effectiveness of carrying out specific performance measures within your given sport. And then additionally, we might look at this from a tactical perspective. So we're almost starting to unpick now how us as an organisation or a sporting organisation are going to win games, are going to prepare certain strategies for our opposition, and we can actually start to gather information to allow us a better chance at being more successful. Now, within this field, we're not necessarily always looking at athlete development. It might be that we look at development from a coaching perspective. So as performance analysts, we're very much part of a multidisciplinary team within sporting organisations. And we very much work alongside coaches to provide that level of feedback to ensure that we are developing our athletes. Now, within certain contexts, it might be that we can actually analyse coaching performance to actually see if what we're trying to implement is actually working, and whether or not we actually need to change philosophies of our organisation or actually start to implement various different other designs and training programs to ensure that our athletes are continually developing. Likewise, one of the very important elements now that are prevalent within sport is the recruitment and talent identification side. And again, this area very much will start to build knowledge and understanding about how we can actually recruit individuals into our organisations and actually start to identify talent a lot earlier on within the developmental pathway to ensure that we're getting the best athletes possible into our organisation. Another key concept that you would expect to study at university is this notion of feedback and data visualization. Now, all of the previous concepts that I've just covered there all very much delve into the minute details of improving sports performance. We then need to have that consideration about how we actually feed that back to our coaches and our athletes that we're actually working with. And it's a really, really important concept that we do that in a way in which we take really complex information and we deliver that into our organization in a very simplistic manner. So that is one thing that you would expect to study at university, is building those knowledge, those skill sets for you to be able to feed back that information into that coaching process. So we've now covered almost a whistle-stop tour of what performance analysis is. I'm now just going to go into almost what to look for as a student when deciding what university to choose, and almost at what program within the area of performance analysis to choose. And the question that you should be asking yourself as students is, what is the right program for me? And this diagram pretty much sums up program advertisements within this area. And we almost get, when we look at university websites, when we chat to program leads, we almost get one aspect of what a program looks like. So this top end of the iceberg. But in reality, a BSc program in the area of performance analysis pretty much includes all of these other different elements that I'll speak about shortly. So we almost need to, as students, now start to look at the bigger picture. And what we know from the area of performance analysis is it's now become a more independent field, and it's starting to grow and have more of an impact and add more value within sporting organisations. So it's becoming a little bit more complex. And the first question that you should be asking yourselves as students when looking into this area is the programme going to give me the subject knowledge, the subject understanding, and the required skill set to be successful within this field? The second question that you should be asking yourselves as students is the programme going to give me the opportunity to build upon my knowledge and understanding and my skill sets within applied practice? And that's what we should be expecting to see in university programmes within this field. Is, are you going out on professional placement? Have you got the opportunities within placement settings to start to apply theoretical content that you learn within your given programme and apply that to the sporting context that you're very much interested in? And this is a really, really key component within this field. When you start to look at future job descriptions and future careers within this area, a lot of sporting organisations will ask you as students, what experience have you got? Or what experience have you built within your given university programme? So it's a really, really important aspect to actually look out for. The final component that I'll actually touch upon, which is really, really important in this area, is the use of technology. Now, as I alluded to just a short while ago, that why this field has actually become a little bit more independent now is because of the advances in technology. And if we think about sporting performance as a really complex structure, the use of technology actually allows us to unpick that in simplistic forms, where we can actually start to look at more individualized elements where we can actually start to develop our athletes and work with our athletes within a sporting context. So it's really, really important that when you join a university program, you start to understand what technology you will be using and how that is going to benefit you in terms of accelerating your career within this field. Now, I've almost divided up the use of technology into various different strands. So if we're looking at performance analysis from a technical, tactical, or physical perspective, we very much want our program to build our skill sets within these areas. Now, I'll just highlight a couple of technologies that are really, really prevalent within the field, and that is Coach Logic and Angles. So notational analysis software, which allows you to start to unpick technical components, physical components, and tactical components that are really important for sports performance. So when you're actually starting to decide on which programs to study at university, do they give you the opportunities to utilize this technology and build your skill sets, where you can then, once graduating on a program, when you're applying for jobs, actually start to evidence how you can impact an organization, and more importantly, how you can add value to that organization. Additional elements within this field, and probably one that has grown a lot more over the last 5 years or so, is the use of telestration. Now, telestration allows us to enhance the level of feedback that we can give to our sporting organisation. And that is the example on screen that we have here, is that we might have some key messages that we want to feed back to our athletes and coaches around some tactical implementation or around a strategy that we want to implement. Therefore, we can utilise telestration technology to engage our athletes within our processes. So again, are you going to be developing your skill sets as students within this area and utilising the technologies that are used within elite organisations in the sporting context? The final element is the use of data. Now, I alluded to at the start of this presentation is that performance analysis is the investigation of actual sports performance. So for us to unpick this complex matter, we're going to have to utilise a lot of objective data for us to be able to feed that back to our coaches and athletes. And data technology allows us to filter this information more easily and allows us to actually present this in a way in which athletes can actually understand, for them to identify areas of strengths and areas of weaknesses for them to improve upon. And one technology that is really prevalent in all sporting organisations is Tableau. And Tableau is a data visualization tool which allows you to take large data sets, make sense of it, and actually then feed those simple messages back to your athletes and coaches. So again, as potential students within this field, our BSc programs in the area of performance analysis are they going to allow you to develop your skill set within this technology? Now, once you've kind of identified this as an area of interest, I think it's really important to almost identify future career aspirations and almost where this field can actually take you. So in terms of graduating from a BSc program, entry-level roles include performance analysts at various different sporting organisations. It could almost include opposition analysis. So from tactical points of view, can we develop strategies that are going to enhance our athletes' abilities to be more successful within sporting performance? It might be that we take up a more recruitment role. So actually within sporting organisations, are we identifying the best talent and the best individuals to come into our organisations to improve the level that we get to? Additionally, it might be in terms of scouting and talent ID. So this might not be from a transfer perspective, but it might just be from a talent ID perspective where we're working with younger athletes and actually starting to identify the most important elements that are going to ensure that they have a long, successful career within their given sport. We might then specialize in more data-heavy roles where we actually start to utilize those large data sets to unpick these complex matters. And they can be divided up into two separate roles, data analysis and data science. And all provide valuable feedback into our sporting organisations. Likewise, from a physical perspective, we might become a more sports science-based practitioner or physical scientist, where we focus more on the physical parameters that are impacting sports performance. And additionally to that, these programs will open up future opportunities to further your skill sets, knowledge and understanding by actually going on to study master's programs within sports. Now, in terms of applications to this given field, I provide on screen here one quotation from a previous student when applying to this area. And they actually found it quite difficult to write a university application. And almost was there a set structure in which they had to adhere to almost be successful within their application. And almost what I would say to future students within this field is that there is no one size fits all approach to your application. And I think it's really important for you as students to firstly identify if performance analysis is of interest to you. Secondly, to then identify the universities and the programs that you have available. And then start to ensure that you're tailoring your application towards that given university or program that you wish to study. I think it's really important that university lecturers start to see that you are firstly interested and that you've done a little bit of research and you start to detail within your application why you want to study this program. Why do you want to gain knowledge, understanding, and a skill set within the area of performance analysis? Once you've almost done that, it's then really useful for you as students to almost let your personality come through. So when we're identifying the skills that we do have and identifying the skills that we want to develop within our university programs, we need to be honest. And if we don't have any experience within this field at present, okay, that's perfectly fine. But have you done your research to identify what skills you want to develop within this field? Almost let your personality come through and show your university that you're committed, you're interested, and more importantly, that you've done your research around the program and how that's going to allow you to become a successful practitioner within the field. And that almost ties into this final point here. How is the program going to benefit your career? It's all well and good identifying a program to go to university, but more importantly, as a student, you should be asking yourself the question is how is that going to benefit your career? And as I've alluded to in the presentation there, are you going to develop the subject knowledge? Are you going to be given opportunities to apply that knowledge within practical context? And are you going to be utilizing the technology that is prevalent within the field? . that concludes this whistle-stop tour of university programs within the area of performance analysis. I'm more than happy to support any students that are interested in this area within their applications. And you can actually find me on Twitter at St. Mary's Analysis, where we introduce students to content within the field. And we also give students an indication of some of the more minute sessions that you will actually study on a week-by-week basis at university. If you also head over to our website at stmarys.ac.uk, you can also find my contact details and find out a little bit more about not just performance analysis programs at university, but what we can offer here at St. Mary's University. Thank you very much for your time today.